On this week's episode of the Jesse T Show, we have the incredible Spiceda Jackson, CPA, founder of TaxPlus365 and ExFinancial. Thanks so much for being on the show this week, Spiceda. Pleasure to finally have you and have you on the show. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. So how's everything been going for you?
Things are going well. Yeah. They're busy. We're post-tax season, so but that still doesn't slow down for us. We roll right into the audit season, so I've been kind of like rolling toward finishing. Always busy, but that's good. So I won't complain.
Well, welcome back to the land of not just being stuck in taxes and doing some different stuff. So this show is all about you, and I want to know, and the fans want to know what you've done in your career, how you've built such an amazing career, because you've done a lot of really cool things, how you've built your business, and how you juggle being a mom and a business owner and all the things you have going on. So tell the world about who Spiceda is and how you got to where you are today.
Well, my story starts, in corporate America. Well, and not really corporate America, Big Four accounting. So I started in public accounting, working for a small local firm when I graduated from college. And my desire at the time was I wanted to do nonprofits. And at some point I decided that I didn't want to stay in Tallahassee, which is where I went to school. Go Noles, Florida State University. And I decided that I wanted to move to New York. And, you know, if I could make it there, I could make it anywhere.
Right.
So I had that stuck in my brain. So as I was studying for the CPA exam, I interviewed for a job in New York and worked for a local, real regional firm there that did like advanced publications, Glamour, Vogue, magazines, newspapers. Okay. So I was an auditor for them. Okay. So it's an interesting story, which we probably don't have time for, but I literally was studying for the CPA exam and picked up the phone and was on monster.com and decided that I wanted to call these people and tell them I was going to be in New York when I truly wasn't going to be in New York.
Wow, okay.
And I said, I'll be in New York next week and I'm interested in this job because I'm an accountant, but I love to create. And so my thing was I wanted to be a writer, a poet by night, and an accountant auditor by day. Okay. I had this crazy Love Jones type of thing going on in my head. So I figured I would do poetry at night and I would be an accountant during the day. So I needed to live in New York. And so I moved to New York, worked with this firm. I had a great career. But then one of the biggest things in public accounting happened, which was Enron.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so with Enron, there came this law or rule called Sarbanes-Oxley, which forced internal control compliance, blah, 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 blah.
Cracking down on
cracking down really on public financial statements and just the accounting industry, public accounting industry as a whole. And at that time, I was working for this regional firm, and I wanted to go Big Four. Okay. And so
for those that don't know, tell people what the Big Four is.
Big Four is the biggest four accounting firms in the world are KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young, and Deloitte & Touche. Okay. And Anderson used to be one of them. It used to be called the Big Five. They were the Big Eight. But Anderson died with Enron. It went down.
Okay. So it went to the Big Four.
So it became the Big Four. Yeah. So that was on the cusp of that. I interviewed for a job at KPMG, and I got the job as a staff accountant. Okay. I was well above a staff, but I took the job as a staff accountant.
To get your foot in the door.
To get my foot in the door, and I was like, So I moved from a staff accountant to senior accountant in 6 months.
I believe it.
And then, the next year, I became a manager. But in between that time, my appendix ruptured.
Oh my goodness.
In New York.
Okay.
I was working on an audit my second week at KPMG. I'm in pain at work. My appendix ruptured, and so I ended up having an emergency appendectomy.
Wow.
5 days in the hospital. I realized long way from home, and
so were you by yourself?
I was my grandfather lives in New York. Mm-hmm. He actually was traveling, Everyone was out of town.
So you really were.
My uncle, I was like by myself because my family who I was living with or nearby in New York all were out of town on vacation. Everyone was on vacation.
Goodness.
So I realized I was a long way from home and decided that I wanted to move to either Miami or Atlanta, which I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
It's kind of the middle. Jacksonville's the middle of either Atlanta.
Yeah,
Miami.
I knew I didn't want to go back to
places.
Jacksonville.
How did you decide and land on Atlanta?
Well, have you ever watched the show Who's the Boss? I have all these stories.
Yeah.
So I love Who's the Boss. Sure. And she was into mergers and acquisitions. And so Angela did mergers and acquisitions. So I wanted to do mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
And always did. So even my internships, I worked in business development for Barnett Bank, which is now Bank of America.
Okay.
And so I interviewed for this job in transaction services. Well, the partner was in New York. He interviewed me in this restaurant, and they gave me the job.
Wow. Okay.
And so they paid for my relocation, because typically internally they don't pay for relocation and things of that nature, but they paid for my relocation. I moved to Atlanta. I stopped doing audit, and I started doing what's called transaction services, which is helping companies buy and sell other companies.
Gotcha.
And so, like, milestones in my career were like the Delta, purchase or merge with Northwest.
Okay.
I did, my biggest one was Sara Lee carved out Hanes brand. So when Hanes brand went public, and I think it was 1996, I was one of the leads on that team with KPMG. And so I really specialize in sales side, like helping companies carve out parts of their business to stand alone.
Okay.
So I'm technically a financial statement specialist. So I'm more of a technical accountant. So with all of that, mergers and acquisitions, we're in the housing market. We're into people, when they stop buying houses, they also stop buying businesses. Yep. So businesses get into this, we want to sell. Well, the market, we were at the top of the recession. I don't know if you guys remember, but that's when the recession hit. Yeah, but no one knew we were in the recession. But we knew we were in the recession because, in transaction services, we knew because all of the big boys started wanting to sell these companies that weren't.
So you saw the writing on the wall where something was changing in the market.
Things were changing, but I'm still young and I'm still not figuring it out. But we were in a recession.
Yep.
And so with that, people stopped wanting to buy companies. They started wanting to sell, and I was a sales side specialist, but I didn't want to be in sales side.
So looking for a change.
I wanted to change because I traveled every week, and I just wanted a different quality of life. It was for me. I just didn't want to travel anymore. So I left KPMG, went and worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is another
one of the big four.
Yeah, I didn't like PricewaterhouseCoopers for whatever reason.
Just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fit for me, and I was too prideful to go back to KPMG. So I went to Crowe Horvath, another Big Ten accounting firm, and there I got laid off.
Okay.
But I knew I was going to get laid off.
So you started seeing a trend, and this maybe leads into running your own business.
Yeah, so I sat on the board of a nonprofit.
Yep.
So my story is I sat on the board for a nonprofit back when I was at KPMG, and I always believe in serving, sitting on the boards for nonprofits, et cetera, et cetera. So I sat on this nonprofit board, and they were having a financial struggle.
Okay.
And with that financial struggle, they needed to raise capital. And so basically I wrote the financial package that helped them get this capital.
Were they going to VCs, venture capitalists,
they basically,
angel investors?
They would get money from United Way.
Okay.
But they got money from a big donor, a wealthy person.
Yeah, philanthropist.
A philanthropist gave them $500,000.
Okay.
And so
good cash injection. What they were looking for.
Big cash injection. They're a homeless shelter.
Okay.
And so basically they served women and children, provided housing, and they also had their own building. They had transitional houses as well as their own building where they let the
could really help with the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that, I realized that people thought I was doing some amazing things. I really was like, you think this is good?
Right.
I don't do anything like this. I do really good stuff with this, that. So I was so I realized people got paid to do what I thought was simple.
Yeah.
So another board member was an entrepreneur, and so she told me how much people can make an hour. I'm an accountant, so I did the math.
Sure.
And I'm
billable hours.
Right.
Yeah.
The billable rate was $500 an hour.
Oh my goodness. So
when
it's
I
some
was
serious
at the firm.
coin. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I must be valuable. So I can bill myself at like an end of that
Right.
and create my salary for myself, work 12 weeks out of the year versus like working these 12-hour days.
Yep.
I mean, I love what I was doing because, it's fast.
Control the schedule, make what you want to make. You feel like
Yeah.
you're doing what you want to do a little bit.
There was a tug on my heart to do it, but I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no way I can do
So
it
that's a good point. So you were afraid. All entrepreneurs go through different types of fear, different levels of the game. And so, what helped you get past the fear?
I realized that if I failed, it would just be me. Because at that time, I wasn't married. I didn't have any children.
Yep.
And once I did the math, because, there's this saying that people lie, but numbers don't lie.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
so when I looked at the numbers, it gave me confidence that I could do it. And I just took a leap of faith and I just did it. I had this little savings, which, I was like, okay, I'm going to go out here.
Yep.
I'm going to take the savings. I'm not going to lose my house. Because I also knew that I could get a job.
Sure.
So if it didn't work out, I could get another job.
Well, you're great at what you're doing. You've built a career where you can you're marketable and people want to have your services and be thankful that you would want to join their team. And so you had this peace of mind where you felt like worst case scenario, if something happens, there's backup.
I can always go back.
Yeah.
So that gave me some confidence to just step out on the water and walk.
Okay.
And
What year was this? What year did you step up?
This was in 2009. So
Okay.
right May 9th, so the funny story is I got laid off like I think 2 days after my birthday, which is April 27th.
Yeah.
Or April 4th or something like that. My birthday is April 27th. I know my birthday. But it was like about May 4th. I got laid off somewhere in between.
Pretty
there.
close to that.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
And so I decided, because I had gotten laid off before, because Price Waterhouse actually laid me off.
Yep.
But I felt so relieved because I really didn't like it there. And so I was like, well, 2 weeks later, I got another job.
Yep.
And I kind of was trying to figure out where I was going to go anyway, because I was like, do I go back to KPMG or do I stay here? The market's slow, so I ended up going to this small firm, and the market was slow. They were paying me well,
Okay.
but I wasn't doing any work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Lord, these people are going to lay me off because I'm not doing anything.
Again, the writing could have been on the wall.
It was,
yeah.
I wasn't, they were paying me a pretty good salary, but they had opened an office here in Atlanta, and there just wasn't enough work.
Okay.
And so I was trying to create work because at that point I was a senior manager. And so it just wasn't happening. So, I just took a leap of faith, stepped out there. I was sitting on this board,
Yep.
and the first thing I did, and this is the first thing I tell anybody to do, get your logo, get your business card, get your marketing package. Like
something tangible that's
tangible.
real. Yep.
Yeah, because it makes
Inspiring.
it real.
Yeah.
And with that logo, because the guy who did my logo, my logo was just exceptional. And it looked like I had been in business forever. I'd been in business for 5 days.
Yeah.
I got my first proposal, and I didn't take it. So I know.
Turned
It's not
down
like
work.
I turned down my first client. So because it didn't make it, the hourly rate was less than I was making at the firm.
I see what you're saying.
And so for me, I had in my head, I can't undersell my time.
Yep.
So if I sell my
Good for
time,
you, because a lot of people when they go independent, they may jump at the first thing.
No,
and
you
they
can't.
get stuck in a thing where they're not getting what they want from
Then
it.
let's
Yeah.
say I committed 40 hours, because when you're first starting, you want to do your best job. So, and I know I'm like a little bit over the top sometimes. So I know that I would have been like here on
Yeah.
this job. And, for me, if I'm going to dedicate that time, it's like I'm selling my time.
Sure.
I can't sell my time for that, so if I had taken, the guy I was dating at the time, he was like, I can't believe you turned down the job. You don't have a job. And I was like, I hear you, but if I give those hours away at that rate, they're not available.
You stuck true to your vision, and you didn't essentially sell your soul, so to speak, just to make a buck. You stuck true to what you wanted.
I did.
Yeah.
And so with that, I got another client.
Okay.
And from there, I honestly don't know what happened. I just kept going.
Yeah.
I just kept going. I can't even remember. I'm like, what? How did you? So now I went from like 0 clients to now I have between 250 and 350 clients.
Good for you.
Like I would say like 300 and 400 clients.
Just in a matter of and so now the business, your practice, what does that look like in terms of clients that you're serving today, and what is your, if you have a niche or a couple different niches?
Well, I started with my niche. My niche was really working with small business owners to help them realize the value in their business. So I have another story.
Sure.
So what had happened was, because in my heart I knew I needed to start my own business, but I really was too afraid to do it.
Yep.
But I was on this job, and this was back when I was at KPMG, because I was never leaving KPMG because I was going to be a partner.
Sure.
In my head, I was going to be a partner.
That was the vision.
Yeah, I love KPMG. I mean, I still love KPMG as a firm because they gave me my start, and they're very pro women, and it's a lot of great things, that I picked up at the firm.
You believe in their culture, everything, and how they're building their business.
I mean, I was boohoo crying when I quit the job. I was like, I'm leaving. But PwC paid me 50% more. I had got a 47% raise.
My goodness.
Because they kept recruiting.
Yeah.
They
really wanted you over there.
They really wanted me because I specialized in sales side.
Yep.
And so, although I didn't want to do it anymore,
it was very marketable.
But they recruited me, and they told me that they would let me do the buy side. And I believed it. And I was like, okay, because they want me to be a sales side person over here, and I don't want to be a sales side. So I really left, and I took the money and I left.
What year was this?
This was in 2007.
Okay, so kind of prior to when you were striking out on your own.
Mm-hmm. And so 2007 is when I left KPMG. 2009 is when I started my firm.
Okay.
In between there, I left. I worked with PwC, and I worked for Crowe Horvath.
Okay.
Then I was but back then at KPMG, there was this voice you should start your own business, and I'm like, I can start my own business. Why would I do that? I mean, who's going to pay these bills? And I just bought a house.
Right.
In
so you had some big commitments. Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought a house.
Yep.
And
at the height before the crash too.
So I had this house with this that I overpaid for because I bought it in 2007, and at that time I didn't know that we were in the middle of the bubble.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hold on to my house. I still have the house, which it's worked out perfectly because now the market is bad.
Right.
So, but I just needed. I just stuck to it. The bank wouldn't refi me. So
banks are sticklers when it comes to stuff like that.
They wouldn't even refi my house. I was like, what do you mean you're not refi? I had paid $258 for a house that was appraising at $90,000.
Oh my goodness!
I had decided I would start my business, but I just kept on it or whatever, and just ended up starting the business, moving forward. I was telling you the part about what made me pick my niche was when I was working on a small deal. It was a buy-side deal. I was helping my client, which was buying a smaller company.
Okay.
And this company, and I'll throw out the number, this company was for sale for $7 million.
Okay.
And the owner was was channel stuffing, what we call channel stuffing. And that's when you take all your revenue and jam it. So you run a promotion and get your customers to buy in early to make it seem like your income is higher.
Gotcha.
And so when we buy companies on a multiple of what we call EBITDA.
Okay.
So on the multiple of EBITDA, he was trying to get to $9 million.
Oh, wow.
And so I was so zealous. I was like, oh, I found it. He's channel stuffing.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about this market.
Right.
And I'll never forget the CEO of the company that was buying.
Yep.
They were this international company, but there was a local conglomerate. The CEO, he called me on a conference call. He was like, good job. He was like, but I need you to just let that go.
Really?
Yeah.
Look the other way.
He was like, I need you to let that go, and honestly, it doesn't even matter because we're willing to pay $35 million for this company.
So they already knew they wanted the company. And
they were
willing to overpay.
They were willing to pay $35 million for this company. And here, this small business owner, he's like trying to come up with all this stuff to bring up his value or justify his value. And if he had hired a professional like me, or, that could tell him, look, your company is worth what people are willing to pay.
The valuation, what the market dictates.
So the market is dictated, just like when you buy a house. You can think you want $400,000 for your house, but when the market is dictating $300,000, your house is only worth $300,000.
That's what you're going
They
to sell
don't care
for.
you paid $400,000 or whatever. But anyway, so that was my, oh God, real? So I was like, I felt kind of deflated because I was like, gosh, okay. So he's like, we just need you to finish your report because we need to give the report to
the board,
the corporate, so that they could approve the deal, so that we could go ahead and pay these people this $9 million and get the company. They just needed to justify the $9 million. They had to do the due diligence. They can't just go in. It's like buying a house. You can't just go in and say, "I'll take the house." Right. So basically, he's like, "We're willing to pay $35 million for this company." So imagine you, right? You got your company. And you're at the point where you're ready to sell, you're ready to retire. This is your nest egg, right? And you're like, okay, I want $9 million for my company. But little did you know, someone was willing to pay you $35 million. All you had to do was ask.
And having access to that information, and working with somebody that can guide them down that path.
Exactly. So from there, I was like, I'm going to work for the little guys. So when I first started ExFinancial in 2009, I was specializing in financial statements.
Where's the name come from?
ExFinancial. So that was another part of the story I was going to tell you. I have a long story, but I don't even know if we have time for it all. But I got laid off on May 4th, I believe. Now I know the date. May 4th, I got on a plane. I had already had a plane ticket to go to Florida. I'm sitting on the plane, and I'm like, I'm ex-Big Four. We had this thing where you would get an exceptional review. So either you were a strong performer or an exceptional performer. So I was an exceptional performer. I believed in excellent deliverables, and I just started writing all my values down. And when I looked at the paper, it was a whole bunch of EX words. And so
it made sense. It just dawned on you that
everything. And so I said, I'm
doing.
going to be ExFinancial because I didn't want to be Spiceda at that time Davis CPA firm because people weren't saying my name right. And so I didn't want to go through this whole thing explaining people, no, it's not Spiceda, it's not Spiceda, it's Spiceda. And so it's like, I just didn't feel like going
Most
through that.
people would have tried to, good for you in branding and looking at it from a business operational standpoint where you don't have to always kind of tell people how to say it, right? Where most people are so fame motivated, which is nothing wrong with that, but they want to see their name in lights, and so they'll have their name of their company, and then it would have been a little bit kind of arduous trying to get through that process every time, telling someone how to say your name correctly, and it made it easier, but it made sense too because it touched on your why and some of the things that you had done with ExFinancial, all those things that you had lived through and those things that you've accomplished with X being part of that name, so it speaks more towards your mission.
So ExFinancial is the name, and we believe in providing exponential value to our clients, excellent deliverables, excellent client service, a whole bunch of other EXs that I can't think of on the spot right now because we're in front of this camera. So, but basically from there, I came up with the name ExFinancial. So that was in 2007. 2009, sorry. In 2000, so as I was going through, I decided I wasn't going to do taxes because, I'm like, I'm going to be a financial statement specialist. I'm going to help my clients put their bank packages together because I would notice that people would have these financial statements that did not tell the proper story of their business, but yet you're asking the bank for money. You need to understand what story your financial statements are telling to a potential buyer, to the bank, to investors, and a lot of business owners don't really get to that level because it's like, hey, I got this business, it's making money, but even though it's making money, what does your financial statement say? Because you can also have a financial statement loss, but have like a pretty cushy bank account.
Right. Some cash flow, some other things.
Yeah, you can have a strong, or you can have a weak cash flow, but your financial statement is saying you're making money, so what's going on?
Right.
So it's just about understanding the financials, and so my initial principle was managing from your financial statement. That was our first
kind of your value proposition.
Yeah, our value proposition.
Yeah.
And so from that, I met some great business owners, and I met one business owner in particular who was trying to get a loan from a bank.
Okay.
But his taxes were jacked up, jacked up really bad. And so to the point where the underwriter told him something was wrong with the financials, he told his tax guy. The tax guy just changed what he got audited.
Oh my goodness.
So audited not only for 1 year but 3 years. And so from there, I basically started getting into tax resolution because I really wasn't into taxes. I wasn't into taxes at all. I would only do your taxes if I were doing
like a one-off.
statements.
Yeah.
So if we were already providing services to you, we would do your taxes.
Concierge service.
Yeah. So for me, we were very boutique, and I just wasn't into the tax thing.
Yeah.
So I got into tax resolution because I understood financial statements, and I understood how to defend this guy in front of the IRS from a financial statement standpoint. So because again, people lie, but numbers don't lie.
Right.
So I understood the numbers. And so from that, I kind of got him to the point where we reduced the tax liability, fixed the errors, et cetera, et cetera. So I
cleaned it up.
Yeah, I was really into that. I was like, I like this defense thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not into the tax part, but I really like.
It goes back to your servant's heart, right? Before, when you were working at some of the big four companies and trying to help people on that side, but now you can actually do it in like a one-on-one. You can help people and safeguard them in a sense.
I never thought of it that way, but I really jumped on it. I was like, I love it. So I started as a CPA, we learn about taxes, and it's like being a lawyer. You pick your area,
specialty.
And so my area is like financial statements, mergers and acquisitions, etc. So, but I added this tax advisory piece of it, tax resolution, and then from there, I had a friend who majored in marketing.
Okay.
He opened up like this retail practice, a franchise.
Yeah.
He opened up a tax franchise.
Yeah.
This guy had made in 12 weeks what I was like struggling to make for a whole year. And here I am, the CPA.
Wow.
He quit his job, not quit it.
Yeah.
He just took like a month off his job, and he would like make like $90,000. And here I am, like, I need to make $90,000, like trying to struggle to make it.
Yeah.
And he kept telling me, he's like, Spiceda, you should just do taxes. Why don't you just do taxes? And I'm like, do taxes? I'm a CPA. What do you mean? Taxes? Like, whose taxes? So he told me his numbers. And again, numbers don't lie.
Right.
People do.
Right.
The numbers don't. So from there, I decided I would go. He goes, don't buy into the franchise because you got everything it takes. Because I was doing taxes for my people, but I wasn't like doing taxes for the masses.
Right, yeah.
And so from there, I started TaxPlus365.
Okay.
And I had decided people were approaching me to buy their tax software. And so, basically, they would make money off of the volume that I did.
Sure.
And and a lot of them wanted to be in this Camp Creek area. So Camp Creek is in what's called the new Aerotropolis.
Okay.
And the Aerotropolis is today has really grown. And because Atlanta, we're the world's busiest airport, we're the largest airport,
that's right.
et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted my office to be in this Camp Creek market.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Which at the time, I couldn't afford the rent over there. I just couldn't afford it. But I took a leap of faith.
Yep.
And I went and looked at this space. I had just come back from a trip, and I saw a note on the door. And John Whelan used to have, the home builder, he used to have this office where he built specs in it that was just sitting empty. And so they wanted to sublease it. So I called, and then as I was making the call, I hung up. Like, are you crazy? Why are you, I was like, why are you calling these people? Like, you can't do this. Like, you don't even have enough clients to, so that's what the voice in my head was like, don't do it. So I hung up. The person called back because they saw the number. Like, who called? Like, they called back. They were like, did you call this number?
It was fate. Yeah.
And I was like, Yeah, I called the number. I see the son on the door. Oh yeah, we'll just have, they're gonna call you back. So he calls me, and I'm like, I don't know about this place. I don't know if I can afford it. He was like, well, and I just finished an audit, so I had like a little chunk of change.
Sure.
And so he's like, you just need this deposit. So I put down the deposit. So I took a leap of faith. I sit in the middle of this building, this retail front in Camp Creek, and I just did it. I did the numbers, and I was like, all I have to do is do this, and then just go towards that, right? And so they let me have the place. I gave them my financials, and I stayed in Camp Creek Marketplace for 6 years.
Okay.
And so I birthed out of that TaxPlus365 because it was a retail front in front of Publix, and that's how ExFinancial became TaxPlus365.
So it morphed into that, and so you touched
Because
on.
I didn't want ExFinancial to be on. Like, you're going shopping and you see ExFinancial.
Right.
You don't know that they do taxes.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I need a name.
Makes sense for branding purposes.
Yeah. So TaxPlus365, because we're open all year. We're not just one of these retail front
Pop
people
up during tax season.
Yeah. So I went, and then at the bottom it says CPA powered.
Awesome.
So it's TaxPlus365 CPA powered. But at the time when I made my sign, I was like, take the CPA off, because you're not going to be at this place. You're going to hire somebody. You're going to do this. You're never going to be here. You're going to just like have 2 offices. I had 2 offices at the time. I had the Camp Creek office, and I was in Midtown. I had an office in
Multi-location.
And so I decided to eventually rent it out and just do everything out of Camp Creek. And TaxPlus365, we grew from there. I had 25 clients when I moved into Camp Creek, and now I'm at over 300.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of like my story.
What I hear you saying, though, it's tremendous that you have this innate ability. You say take a leap of faith, and so
I keep taking
you left Florida to go to New York. You left corporate America to go to be independent. You went to get this location when you felt like you weren't ready. But there's this driving force in you, extremely capable, extremely like badassery, if that's even a word, to be able to go into these things kind of. You're prepared, but you have faith. And so what is it that drives you? What are some things that you use to kind of have that blind faith, so to speak? Do you have support from family? Do you have like just faith in your ability? Like, how do you make these decisions to where, because they've all worked out in your favor. And it's not like you're not going in half-cocked because you're planning financially because that's your background, but you also are taking a leap of faith.
Yeah. I didn't have the money to pay, a $5,000 rent.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I did it. I pray about it. And since I was a child, I grew up in, going to church, and, I was taught, as a teen, I really believe the scripture, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And, take, faith of a mustard seed. I really believe those things. Yeah. And I just, I always say, because I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Never did I, in a million years, that I want to be an entrepreneur. And I really felt like God led me to just do it. And so anytime I do something now, I'm like, you know what, God? If I don't make it, you're going to look real bad. So you might want to help me out here. Because, I had moments when I was in Camp Creek where I was like, all right, I don't have it to make it next month. So something must be about to come in, and it would just happen. And so, I just went to the point. I got to the point at one point in my entrepreneur life, because everyone goes through it, and I didn't even look at my bank account.
Because you didn't want it to affect your.
I didn't want it to affect my movement forward.
Yeah, smart.
I would just do it. So, so now we have our building, which now we can support having our building, and et cetera. But I realized that being in Camp Creek, I was talking to a banker because I do public speaking, and I was doing a speed coaching event for ACE. I don't know if they're access to capital for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Well, I was meeting with the president.
Like alternative lending versus just going to an institutional
they're
bank.
They're Appalachian Bank, but they are non-traditional.
Yeah.
But I was speaking with Grace Frick. She's the president of that bank. And I was telling her, she asked me for some reason how much was my rent
Okay.
at Camp Creek. And I told her, and we had been there, like, our lease was coming up. We had been there for almost 6 years. And she was like, what? She goes, you can own your own building. And I'm like, I can own my own building. And then
Antennas went up.
yeah, I was like, I can own my own building. So I did the numbers.
Yep.
Again, numbers don't lie.
Seems to be a pattern.
That's my pattern. And the numbers, I could have bought my building cash
Good for you.
if I had just done that. But that's not where I was.
Yep.
And I really believe I was supposed to be in Camp Creek because without being in Camp Creek gave us visibility.
Yep.
It created credibility.
There was a catalyst to get you to the next level.
Yeah, it
Yep.
created credibility. A lot of people would come to us and they're like, oh, you're that accounting firm or that tax office. They call us the tax office.
Sure.
You're that tax office in Camp Creek. And what do you guys do all year? Y'all are never closed. And I'm like, oh, yeah. We do audits. We do accounting. We help people, who have tax problems. And you're taxed all year. So why would your, accountant or tax person open for 4 months out of the year when
Yep.
it's time to claim your refund
Yep.
and close all the other times of the year? I was like, we have small businesses. Business owners need to file ST3s. I mean, there's
year-round
employment
operations.
taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, people think, like, especially from an individual perspective, they think, oh, well, tax time is just January through April. No. And honestly, May through December, you need to be planning for that next
Yeah.
year because you want to make sure you're either getting a refund or paying as least as possible so that you can, like, set yourself up to use your own money to grow. I mean, I think we all should pay taxes, but, I think
Use your money wisely.
we should use our money wisely, which brings me to my little book. I'm going to make a little book. I'm in the process of writing a book, and it's called Make Dollars with Sense.
Okay.
And SENSE. And so it's just using your sense throughout the year to, like, make money. So
Wise
it's how
decisions.
to build wealth,
Yep.
how to pay less in taxes, and how to grow your profits.
That's
It's
awesome.
as small business owners and working professionals. And that's my niche market. So being in business now for almost 10 years next year,
Congratulations.
thank
Yeah.
you. I decided that I know who my audience is. I know who my client is. And I'm still learning.
Sure.
And so I can't say that I know everything, but I'm still learning who my client is. And I know that I'm targeting right now. I love working with a working professional because at some point, I was a working professional and I worked really, really hard. But some people want to do something different and they just don't know how to do that different. Or they may want to stay in corporate America, but they may have like an invention, or they may want to get into real estate on the side. And I just want to speak to that person.
So you talk about, and that's huge, right? You want to be able to connect with those people and guide them and be that coach and have that servant's heart of helping people and potentially be their muse to whatever direction they want to go. And so you talked about planning, and I started thinking about goals and longevity with your company. So what is the end result for, and it doesn't have to actually end, but where do you see the business taking you, and what is the overarching goal for the business?
You know what? I just had this epiphany recently, right? So, like, with us moving, like, in September, we bought our building. One of my companies bought a building, and we're renting. My TaxPlus is renting from this particular entity, but I went through a lot of transition during this time. I lost my longest staff person who had been with me for like the last 5 years. And just for me, I realized I don't want to work harder. I want to work smarter. I have in all of this, I've had 2 kids. I got married. I did my husband's taxes. And I found this man that I married, and we have 2 little kids that are 1 and 2. And I realized I want to be my kid's first teacher.
Okay.
I want to teach my son how to write. I want him to go to school and learn, but I want to teach him as well. I don't want to miss those moments.
Having that freedom to be able to take those things and be a
they're
part
like
of them.
your little people, right?
Yeah.
So I used to steal other people's little people because it took me so long to have my own little people.
Right.
So I really just want to, I don't really want to miss those moments, but I love what I do. I love working. So I am not going to be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm going to be a well-balanced entrepreneur.
That makes sense. So have the ability to be able to be where you want to be and be involved and be ingrained in their upbringing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So wealth to me is being able to control your time and to like do what you love to do. And just, I mean, I feel like the money will always be there.
Sure.
Like, no matter what, because that's kind of like what I've learned. If I haven't learned anything through like my progression through life, I've learned that the money is always going to be there. So it's not like I'm not going to let that drive me, like my decisions.
Right.
You know, so for me, for what's next for me is I'm going to be partnering. So I have some CPA friends and partners that I am looking. So what I'm going to do with ExFinancial is we're going to bring all the CPAs together. And basically, I'm going to, I want to sell. I like to connect with the entrepreneur.
Sure.
I like to talk to the entrepreneur, find out what
you have a great
needs
gift for
are.
that.
Yeah, I really love that. I love what I do. I love financial statements, but I kind of want to jump over and play.
Be involved.
So that's like for me, playing. Like, okay, I'm going to put these financial statements together, and now I want to go out and meet with the client, see what they need, and basically I'll be able to work with other CPAs to give them the work. So we'll do it as one brand. Because also, I don't know if I've said this yet, but I love to create. I'm an accountant. I'm a CPA who loves to create. I love marketing. I love branding. I love it. I would have majored in it, but my mom told me that. You're already laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because a lot of people go the way the parents want them to go.
My mom told me that you got 4 years. And you go to school, you have those 4 years because we don't have the money to make you a lifetime student. So you need to major in something that when you get out of school, you'll be making money. And so I knew I wanted to.
Like a good parent setting you up for success.
So, I listened. I wanted to be like, who's the boss? And so I had the blessing of interning. So I interned in the summer. So I've been an accountant since I was 16. So I kind of went that route. But I realized I love marketing in school, and I realized marketing has to do a lot with numbers as well, but I couldn't major in marketing because I didn't know what type of job I'd have. And they, marketing only made like 15 to 20, well, back in the day, when I was coming out of school, they were making 15 to 20, but then they had this upper echelon for the lucky ones. It was like being an entertainer. Right. Like only a few make it. So I was like, oh no, I can't.
It was too scary to not have that surety.
Exactly. So I did account. I love working with numbers, but being an accountant really isn't numbers. It's more so people and principles.
I think every business comes down to that. It comes down to people and relationships and one-to-one and just making an impact where you can. And so you're amazing. I've always told you personally, face to face, you're a Renaissance woman. Like everything that you're doing, running a great business, making an impact there, helping other business owners that a lot of times don't have the answers. Raising a family, creating wealth in other aspects outside of just money. I mean, you're doing it big. So I love what you're doing. We have a couple things we want to run through. Just make sure that we can get through them for you. So we have rapid fire section. So this is where we kind of find out what's going on with you and what you're into. And so the first one is.
And I'm gonna go rapid fire because I talk a lot.
That's okay. That's what it's for. It's a talk show. So current role model or mentor, or even in your previous experiences that's just helped you in any sort of way, a role model or mentor.
I've had a lot of mentors along the way. I'm honestly, I'm looking for someone to mentor me at this stage in life that really can help me. I can't say that I have a direct connection with someone in particular, but I've had people mentor me along the way. I actually, and I know it's going to sound cliche, one thing I picked up from Michelle Obama is the value in family. Like, no matter what, like, you have this woman with a Harvard degree, her husband's president, but her first priority, you can always tell, was her kids. And so I really respect that about her. And I want to make sure that no matter how successful I get, what I got going on, that I put family first.
Stay grounded.
And I don't forget my husband. We like him.
So it's important to have that support. So,
yeah.
Favorite restaurant or food?
Oh, I love soul food.
Okay.
I love Southern living. So we have an Airbnb. And so I have like my list of favorite things. So my favorite restaurant is this hole in the wall.
Okay.
Called Busy Bee.
Okay.
They have the best.
Is that here in
chicken.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right near the stadium.
Okay.
I just love it.
The craziest thing that you've ever happened to you, or?
I don't know. I mean, I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, I may seem a little outgoing, but
Sure.
I'm still a little scary. So I can't say I've had anything crazy. And I used to have an answer to this question, but I can't think of one. And you asked me before. I don't know the craziest thing I've ever done.
It's okay. We don't have to hit that one. So
I went to Greece and had a lot of fun, but I didn't do anything crazy.
Okay, well that's fun. Good to go to Greece.
That was like my best. That's like one of my most memorable moments. I went to Greece with like about 30 young professionals.
Okay.
And we just had such a great time.
That's
we
awesome.
partied like 3 days straight. That's probably the most partying I've ever done in my life.
Okay.
So maybe that would be it.
What are you currently reading now? Audiobook listening
I'm
to?
going to, I've decided, I haven't started yet,
Yep.
but I've decided I'm going to pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad again.
Yeah.
It's like one of those old classics.
It never gets old. You can always learn something from it.
Yeah, I had this conversation with this guy yesterday and about planning.
Okay.
So what you just helped me realize in this interview, hi guys, is that I actually planned my next steps in some sort of way.
Okay.
And so he was saying the thing about Rich Dad, the difference between the Rich Dad and the Poor Dad was Rich Dad always planned. And I said, you know what, you're right. I need to read that book again, so I'm reading Rich Dad.
That's a great one. Robert Kiyosaki, for those who haven't.
Yeah.
A time where you learned from a client mishap or mistake that has helped you change the way you do business for the better.
Oh gosh, I've had so many of those.
What's one of the bigger ones?
Oh my gosh.
And how do you operate now because of it?
You know what? Let's talk about bartering.
Yeah, okay. I like bartering. That's the way the world used to get by.
That's my most recent one. And I believe in bartering. But what I've decided to do is so that we all value, so if I'm going to do business with you and you're going to do business with me.
Trading services.
Yeah. I love working with other entrepreneurs and supporting other people's businesses.
Yep.
But what I normally would do is I would always, let's say we have a service $1,000, right? I would at least pay you $500.
Gotcha.
And then we can barter the other half.
Sure.
Now,
so there's some cash exchange, plus there's other. Yeah.
I decided that I'm just going to do pure cash exchange. So we're going to barter, but I write you a check and you write me a check, and we're good. Because I don't want you to feel like you're working for free. Because sometimes I think some people, not everybody, but some people feel as though in the world of bartering that they're working for free. And I never feel that way because
it changes the dynamic.
It does because I have staff, and so a lot of the times I have my staff supporting me. I still have to cut their check. Even if I'm bartering the service with you, I'm still paying my staff.
Right.
So, I mean,
there's a transference of actual currency somewhere.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is with that is just making sure that when you're supporting business to business, that in bartering, that you have those clear conversations up front.
Yeah, set the expectation.
And that you write a check.
How about current hobby or passion project? Anything that I know you said you're writing a book.
Yeah,
so,
I'm writing a book, but my passion project, which I'm passionate about the book, but because I've been writing this book forever, but this year, because last year the tax law changed, so fortunately I hadn't really gotten too deep in there to like turn back. So that's one good thing, but I'm really passionate about building wealth through real estate.
Okay.
So, like with real estate, we have an Airbnb, and so like I said, we have our office space. So we've developed a brand that I'm so passionate about right now, which is called Air Desk and Coffee.
Okay.
So where you can come into our office and rent a desk and have some coffee and collaborate with other business owners. So I'm really into like developing that platform. It's like fresh off the press,
Yeah.
hot off the press.
That's huge.
It's something that I really wanted to.
Like a co-working?
Yeah, I really wanted to a co-working space. We're moving.
Yeah.
I'm moving physically my house.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of moving pieces going on. But what I've realized about real estate is land never loses value.
Right.
Now your home may lose its value, but your land never does.
And ownership of a tangible asset, whether it's land or the property itself,
helping
it's
business
huge.
owners like realize, okay, hey, I am a dentist, right? And if you're a dentist and you're in a shopping center, you're building brand equity or location equity for the owner of that building. At some point, at what point do you outgrow renting as a business owner? Because we realize that as individuals, at some point you rent your apartment and then you decide, you know what, I need to buy my house, right? So there's a transition period for us as individuals, but at what point does it make sense for a business to own
to make that move?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so as far as just for the audience, this is your time to talk about one last thing that I always want to hear from is how do you want to be remembered, your legacy? It could be a quote that you live by, it could be something that you want people to remember you specifically by, but what does that look like for you? What does your legacy look like?
You know, I don't know, I was wondering that the other day. But one of the quotes that I live by is better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
That's huge.
And so I am like.
Where'd you hear that? I know the concept, but I don't know that exact quote.
I heard that in high school.
Yeah, that's big.
I've always been a quote person.
Okay.
So I told you I'm a writer.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like, a moonlighter writer, but I'm really into quotes.
Okay.
And so I heard it in high school. One of my teachers, my high school teacher, Mr. Smith, he's passed away, but he actually made us read Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon
Great
Hill.
book.
I read that in high school. And so from that, he was like, it's better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity to not be prepared. And I was like, you're so right. And so, I always, this weekend, I took headshots yesterday.
Nice. How do you feel like they came out?
I think they actually, I saw them before I came in. They are phenomenal. I don't know what I'm going to use them for.
But to have them, right? To be prepared in case something comes up.
I'm always taking headshots. I take them at least once a year.
Okay.
Because
keep them fresh and current.
Keep them fresh. Yeah. Because at one point I was 25 forever. At some point you're no longer looking. Have you ever seen somebody's headshot?
You want to think that you do,
and you're looking at them and you're like,
yeah.
This isn't you.
Yeah, it's false advertising.
Exactly. People do it all the time. So I take my headshots just to be prepared, for my book and my speaking engagements. My life, I guess, I want to be remembered for motivating people to, build wealth, and not just money. It's not just about money. It's about building the life that you love, the quality of life that you want to live. Because that's what I want to do. Sure. I mean, I want my work to be fun. Right? I'm an accountant. It was just really hard to do.
It'll bleed through, though. Like the way that you, I guess, coach your clients because you are a consultant, and the way that you operate your business and who you are as a person, all that bleeds through. And so your clients will have that experience. They won't feel, just another accountant. This is really boring. You want to make an impact, and so you will. This is your time if you want to tell the audience how to connect with you and best places to find you, whether it's website, contact information.
Okay.
How can everybody get in touch with Spiceda?
Well, you can reach me at my email address is info@TaxPlus365.com. Our email address is TaxPlus365.com. We also go by ExFinancialCPA.com, which is also my Twitter. Is it Twitter now? Yeah, Twitter. Twitter is ExFinancial CPA. Instagram is TaxPlus365. We also have a TaxPlus365 Twitter account. So you can always find us at TaxPlus365, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Spiceda. It's been amazing. Catch us next week at 8:30 for our next episode.